The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Here's Nikki. Hello, here I am. Welcome to the show. It's the Nikki Glaser Podcast. Podcast number 2 of the week. We're back, me, Brian, and Noah, hanging out, talking about meditation.
Love it.
Yeah. We all
Talking
just kind of
about it.
started this week.
I downloaded the Sam Harris app.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yay.
But you know,
Waking up.
waking up. The problem with meditation is
Oh,
just,
boy.
you know,
Here we go.
everyone is so sure that meditation is the solution to your problems. It's like I have this natural reflex to prove everybody wrong.
But it's
To
like the
go
same
like-
way
so
with you
I'll
in the
meditate-
back book.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'll go meditate for like 7 hours a day for the next 7 weeks so that I can just come back and still be in pain and be like, see?
Yeah, you're in a cynical place about it,
Yeah.
but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sold on it again. I mean, I've been sold on
You're
it my
back
whole
in.
life, but I'm just back in after
You're
reading
back
this book.
in.
I'm reading this book that it's an audiobook that was recommended to me on a manifestation subreddit that I follow called Law of Attraction. And it's just a bunch of people telling you what they manifested and how they did it. And someone was like, they were talking about some method, and they said, this helped me just as much, if not more, than the book Feel Better No Matter What. And I was like, what's that? So I looked it up, and it's Feel Better No Matter What by Michael James, a 4-week course to love the life you have right now. And there's been some interesting nuggets in it that I really liked. He's talking about writing this book and like teaching this kind of method. And he's talking about one day in class, he's a professor, and all the students afterwards are kind of like hanging out, and they're like, you need to get this message out. You need to write a book. You need to do audiobook tapes. You need to have a website. You know, this is like probably early 2000s. And then one of his students was like, or how about you do exactly what you're teaching us and you just love yourself more? And he was like, oh my God. Yeah, I don't need all this other stuff. Like all this, like trying to do all these other things. The girl was like, why don't you do exactly practice what you preach and love yourself more? So the whole conceit of the book is just like learning how to love yourself more and how to be the most yourself.
Yeah.
Which is I think so cool. And like, it makes me feel like that's within reach. Because we all have ourselves. It's just waiting for us to find it.
There's a Chapel Roan within all of us. And all we have to do is become it. You know,
even she's probably still trying. Like, she's young enough that she's probably still trying to be other people. So am I.
Yeah.
I think this, like, it's not as easy. But he does say that the best artists, any artists you know and really respect, the ones that are the musicians, comedians, playwrights, writers that are the best at what they do, really boils down to they are the most themselves. They're more themselves than any other artist. So whoever is producing art at the top level is not the most, they're the most talented, but that talent really comes from a place of they are just the most themselves. And it teaches you how to do this. And there's all these different methods, and they're really simple, and I love it.
sometimes that can be tricky because I'm not going to name names here, but there are certain people in comedy who are lauded for being so themselves, and they're so themselves, and everything they do is like confusing to most, but it's so uniquely them. And then like the industry eats that up because they love narcissists, and they'll be like, oh my God, they must be a genius because I don't understand what they're doing at all, and they're so confident.
Right.
And that shit doesn't work. It doesn't make money. Maybe it's them expressing themselves in such a unique way, but I find it to be artistic bullshit. I think I don't know.
But I would disagree that I would then say that they are not actually being authentic, and that they are trying to be counterculture, and that is not
interesting.
themselves.
Is that what's happening?
So I think that, like, yeah, I think that, you know, I'm not saying it means the most successful artist. I'm thinking like the most happy, most fulfilled person is just found a way to be the most themselves.
Is
and
it
to
the
get
most-
the clutter out of the way.
Is it the most themselves, or they're doing it for themselves? Like whatever they're putting out, they're doing it like
It's coming from a place of
unforgivingly.
like they know themselves and they love themselves and they trust
Yes.
themselves, and they're not trying to abandon what they are. And we all do this subconsciously, constantly, of just trying to not be ourselves. And hating ourselves. And like, if you can find a way to just truly accept who you are, you can be completely happy and have kind of a ease with which you can produce and create that other people aren't met with, because it shouldn't feel like a battle to clear the space. That's why you meditate. That's why part of this thing is so this guy's 4-week course is like so much of it is based on meditating, because he says it's like your brain is like a snow globe, and your thoughts that are coming from every direction, which some might, now I'm starting to learn about this, like these autistic kids that are being able to read minds. I'm like, what if your thoughts are just like frequencies of other people's bullshit? Like, what if you don't even know that your thought is someone else's thought that's just coming into your head? Because your thought doesn't even, if you know about free will and meditating, like, you know that thoughts are not actual things you're producing. They're just things you're noticing, and you feel like you're producing them, but you're not. They're just coming out of nowhere. And so what if those thoughts are just like someone else's bullshit, you know? And like, what if, and when you meditate, you learn that thoughts, you get the thoughts out of the way, and the snow globe that is a shaken snow globe, that is all those thoughts, you can't see what's inside. You can't see the little castle or the little Big Ben tower or whatever is inside the snow globe, because all the snow. And then when you meditate, the snow slowly like drifts down and settles, and you can see clearly what you are. And you are, the Eiffel Tower.
Cabin in the woods.
Yeah. You are Epcot Center or whatever is in there.
This it's funny because it never snows at Epcot Center except one time due to climate change.
Well, yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think I have a contradiction to your snow globe analogy. I know that you love this guy and this new book is all the rage, but there's someone else.
For me. Yeah.
There's someone else that you should probably learn about. His name is Sam Harris.
Yes.
And he has an app called Waking Up.
Yes.
And he would say to this that the snow globe analogy is fine. However, the goal of the meditation practice, the goal of the meditation practice is not to meditate for longer and longer, but it's to become a person in a meditative state so that all through your waking life, the thing that you practice is now happening 24/7.
Yes, I agree, but I think that this guy is kind of, I think eventually, if you do meditate as much as this guy says, which is, he says 30 to at least 25 minutes, start out with, like, this 10-minute stuff is not going to clear anything. It's not going to teach you. I think his method is just saying you're going to get there sooner, where it's like, once you meditate enough every day, you can kind of get to that state. Like, if I do Pilates every day for 8 weeks for an hour, during Pilates, my shoulders are always down because I'm being cued about it constantly. Yeah. And then after like 6 weeks, I'm like, oh my God, my shoulders, like, I'll naturally pull them down when I'm not even doing Pilates. Yeah. And so that's, I think, what happens with meditating too, is that you can kind of get into that state where, like, the thoughts, you can kind of see what meditating is just like being able to acknowledge that you don't have to pay attention to every single thought, because if you do, you're going to go insane, and it's just too much, and you can kind of just dodge them and not hang on to them.
Speaking to your, like, what if a thought is just someone else's frequency? It's not just other people's thoughts. The whole atmosphere is filled with frequencies coming from all sorts of different things. Yeah. There's frequencies like radio waves that are being broadcast. There's obviously, like, your phone, shooting up. Everyone's phone is shooting up into space and then coming back down into people's phones. And also, just every single living thing and every single metal emits an electromagnetic frequency. Yeah. And your brain.
Judy Garland was picking up radio signals in her fillings.
Whoa, really?
What?
Yeah, there's a story in this book about Judy Garland. There's a recording of her. What was in this book? What was? Oh no, it was in the autistic. It was in the telepathy tapes. But there's a recording of her, and she sounds like an old man, but she's talking like this, and she's like, I told Buster Keaton when I got to set that I could hear there's a song coming in my head. And she was like, he asked her, were you on Mulholland? It was like, oh, you passed by a radio frequency, your fillings picked it up. And then they had other proof of guys like picking up. This one guy thought he was schizophrenic because he was hearing voices. like Asian voices, and they found that they looked inside his mouth and he had like this kind of filling that picks up radio frequencies, and he was picking up an underground Japanese radio, like Morse code type thing, and he was committed because they thought he was crazy at first.
Wait, was this like during the spotlight?
Yeah,
like World
during
War
like
II?
the 50s.
So it's like
Yeah.
a spy from like the fascist.
I don't know. They didn't get
government?
into it, but it was like he
Oh my
was committed because they thought he was crazy because he was like, I'm hearing voices, and it was just a radio
Whoa.
frequency that anyone else couldn't hear. You know, dog whistles, like
Yeah.
they can hear stuff. Like there's stuff going on all around us, and that's why the telepathy tips are scary because these kids can also see things, see people
Mhm.
all over. They don't like this one kid doesn't like the lights on or has to have the lights off at certain times because the room fills with people.
Like
and a lot of
ghosts?
kids report it. Yeah.
This is like Haley Joel.
Like you're never really alone.
Yeah, there's people with you right now. I mean,
Like, right
that comforts
now.
me. That if there's ghosts, that's amazing.
know.
Unless ghosts are just an apparition of an energy that was there at one point, but
That's
the
what I
consciousness
think.
is gone.
Right.
That doesn't comfort me at all. But if there's like conscious ghosts in my house right now, I'm thrilled to learn that amazing news.
You just
It's
don't
a-
want to lose consciousness.
That's right.
Okay, well,
That's correct.
when you go to maybe that's why you're clenching your teeth when you sleep because you're unconscious and you don't like it.
Oh.
Well,
You're
yeah, it
bracing
might be a
for it.
loss of control. No, loss of control is definitely.
That's why I like Sam Harris saying when people are scared to do psychedelics, he's like, "Oh, you are? Well, every single night you close your eyes and go to sleep for 7 hours and you dream things that you think are completely real."
Yeah.
Horrifying things sometimes, beautiful things sometimes, things that make no goddamn sense. People's heads splitting in half, you and your old high school with your neighbor, like,
Oh, I
like
hate that one.
a tiny dog drowning in a gutter, whatever it is. Like, I see crazy shit, and he's like, every night you subject yourself to this by closing your eyes, you completely lose control. Yet no one goes, I'm really scared to go to sleep. You know, like, unless you're a Nightmare on Elm Street, like, psychedelics are the same thing. It's like doing the same. People are like, but what if I see something I'm scared of? It's like you do that every night when you close your eyes. You completely surrender to a world that you think is completely real. Unless you're lucid dreaming, which I have done before, where you're in a dream and you know you're in a dream.
Yeah.
You 100% of the time, I would almost say, think that your dream is real. So what are you scared of to do a psychedelic?
I'm afraid that it'll fundamentally change me, and then to become a person who's no longer motivated, which I've seen happen to
It's not-
people who do DMT, but maybe not necessarily shrooms.
After one time?
But that person
You
can
do it
also
one
have
time,
had
you
an-
wake up, and you're like, "What's the point of anything, man? We're all just floating ether in the universe." And
No, you know what makes
I don't give a
me
shit
want to
about
just
my
give up
career
and not give
anymore.
a shit is reading the news. Like, that is worse for my brain than probably DMT is. Like, I just
Sure.
go, what's the point? There's no Department of Education. What's the point? He's taking over the Kennedy Center. What's the point? Like, what is the point of anything?
So,
Like,
the Kennedy Center thing is personally affecting. I mean, I
crazy.
meant to text Chris about this. Like, what does this
yeah,
mean?
the Kennedy Center is where the Mark Twain Prize is, and Trump has fired everyone on the board, and it's all Republicans there,
Yeah.
and they want to have an agenda of
Lee Greenwood, is that his name?
I don't know, but everyone's gone, and so I don't know what it means for the upcoming Mark Twain Prize.
Yeah.
No one knows, and they don't know, so we're just all like kind of
We're
waiting
just
to see what that
speculating.
happens. But
I
it's
had a
like
dream-
if I really want to give up on life, I just like read the news, and then that makes me lose all motivation. I go, what's the point of writing a comedy act? What's the point of going on tour? What's the
Yeah.
point of like people aren't even gonna be able to? They can't afford eggs. Are they going to be able to afford tickets to go see me on a tour in 2026 that I'm already trying to like plan out in my head? Like probably not. Like, is there going to be an arena tour when
Yeah, but when
people
you buy-
are living homeless in an arena because there's no like water and like that's the only safe place to take shelter?
There's that Louis C.K. joke in his last special where he goes, "We all want to feel bad for homeless people, and but I know for a fact that there's no homeless people in here right now." Homeless people can be outside, but not in here.
Oh, I
this
love
is a
that
special
too.
place. This is a special
we would
place.
never let them in here.
You can't come into a building unless you have your own building that you can stay in on your own.
That is
That's the-
so fucked
yeah.
up.
yeah.
I saw what I thought was a homeless woman today at Starbucks listening, not homeless, but like dressed a bit like, she's been in the
A
elements.
little ratty,
Yeah, just like maybe not ratty, but layered.
a little beat down. Well, it's wintertime, right? You're in St. Louis.
Yeah, but
Is
like
it snowy and cold?
like layer, like dusty layers
yeah.
and like maybe not homeless, but like I'll say that she didn't look like she drove the car that I saw she drove. So she's listening to a reverend type guy that's like sounds like he's speaking into a megaphone on the street. But she's listening to like a podcast of it,
like on
full
speaker?
volume. Yeah, full volume on speaker, waiting for her coffee.
Oh my gosh.
And I am just like, I hate this woman so much. And I'm not gonna say anything because I can't, but like I'm inside with 3 dogs, so I can't talk. You know, like I'm waiting for my coffee. My dogs are like, one of them is on me in a case, you know, not a case, but a wrap thing around my neck, and then the other 2 are behaving themselves sitting. And
each of them have their own iPhones playing their own podcast speaker.
And they're both barking about God. And so I feel like I don't have a leg to stand on. I have 8 legs. I have no paws to stand on.
8,
so
12. You have 3 dogs or 2?
I have one's around my neck. She has no paws on the ground.
No paws on the ground.
And then the other, the 2. So I literally, someone could be talking about me on a podcast of like, this bitch had 3 dogs in a Starbucks. How disgusting, you know?
She was carrying one of them. She wouldn't even let its paws go on.
I don't let them on the tables. I don't let them on the bench. They stay on the floor. I don't let them sniff around people's shoes, even though I would argue to say that that's nothing. Who cares? Like, whenever my dogs are in the elevator and sniffing someone's shoe, I'm always like, so sorry. And it's like, why do we have to apologize for a dog sniffing a shoe? Like, who cares if a little nose gets on your shoelace? But like, we're always like, oh, sorry. And like, anytime a dog sniffs my shoe, the owner goes, sorry. And it's just like, and then we got to go through the whole thing. She smells my dog. It's like, let's just cut it all out. And just like, but I will say this morning when I had the 3 dogs, because my parents are out of town right now, it's like, they're coming back tomorrow. Don't rob their house. And tomorrow has already happened when you're hearing this. So Mom, Dad, your house is safe. So anyway, I had the 3 dogs and I'm in the elevator and they're just like, they're all so cute, you know, and a girl gets on the elevator and she goes, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. And I am like tired. I'm in a rush. The dogs are like, they won't stand still. I'm trying to leash them because I don't leash them till we get in the elevator. And I go, this is the worst day of my life. And she goes, oh, and I go, I'm just kidding. But this is like, I'm sorry. Like, if I saw a girl struggling with 3 dogs, I wouldn't go, and like make them excited. Like, I think people are losing empathy. I really think people are like, there is none anymore. This girl was a perfectly nice girl. I'm like, she was only like happy to see dogs. Why? Well, look, my dog's coming in because I made a dog sound. But like, I was running through it when I was meditating later, which is obviously really good for my psyche, even though I'm just using it to like bitch and moan. But I was like, if I saw a girl struggling on the floor trying to leash 3 dogs, when I entered the elevator and I was very excited to see those dogs, would I put my enthusiasm over this girl's like trying to do what she's got to do?
No, I would turn around and face the wall.
I think I would just calmly go like, I wouldn't go, puppies! Oh my God!
Some people can't help themselves. It's like when you see a baby.
I don't care. That is about you. I am so sick of it.
What about you having empathy for their impulse?
No, we're all like, whoever. It's like the right of way when you pull up to a stop sign. The person who gets there first gets to go next. Like or if a pregnant woman on a subway, whoever's struggling the most gets the seat. I'm struggling the most. You give me the seat. If I don't know if I knew that she was depressed and just found out her mom had cancer and is on hospice and is dying, I would give her the win, right? But I didn't know that. There was no context for that. So the context of the situation is like she had enough room to see me struggling with the dog.
Yeah.
I think it's self-awareness, not empathy. It has nothing to do with empathy.
Well, I think
people are losing self-awareness.
I think it's empathy and self-awareness. I think it's both. But isn't empathy like acknowledging that someone's having a hard time and changing your behavior to maybe fit that? Or am I just a child of an alcoholic who's always trying to look out for other people's like discomfort and trying to make them comfortable? Because I find that I am so good about not on this podcast necessarily, but like outside in the world, like I am not someone who's like making things about me. I don't think that often. And I try to, outside of my work environment, like when people are on payroll and it has to be about me, I've learned like, you got to kind of make it about you. That's like the way it is. So I can't really I can't speak to that. And it took me years to even get comfortable with people putting my needs above theirs because they are working for me. But anyway, when it's like a general thing, like I just don't feel like I feel like I'm always looking out for other people's comfort. Like I just read this thing on Reddit. Okay, this is a big one. Okay, people were talking on the subreddit. The question was, I think Reddit really helps me be empathetic. I would actually implore people to go on it because you read about other people's experiences and people are very honest and tell their own stories. And it's the closest to an AA meeting you can get. I swear to God. And also 12-step meetings have also made me empathetic because you get to hear people's stories that you only surround yourself with like-minded people. Like we all do. Like our families sometimes have non-like-minded people around them. You see them a couple times a year, your uncles and strange cousins or whatever. But generally our friends and the family that we keep around us are all people that kind of are like in the same vibe as us. So when you gotta look, that's why movies and books are important. You like live in someone else's experience and head. But there was a subreddit that was like Ask Reddit about how do you know someone's had a bad childhood? And the number one answer was they don't talk about their family. And then an answer to that was someone that I was relate to. Someone goes, I rarely ask people about their family unless they offer it because I don't want to ever put them in a position to say, actually, I hate my mom and actually my dad left when I was 3 or my grandpa abused me. Like I don't ask people about their siblings in case their siblings are dead or like there's something or they're estranged from them. Like unless they offer it or unless they ask me about mine, that's kind of signals to me that there's someone who asks about families. But if someone doesn't ask you about your family or talk about theirs, don't go prying if you don't know them because you're probably going to get, or they might just be, I love when they're just really blunt and they're like, my mom's dead. I love that. I love when someone just like shuts you down. It's like, you don't get to ask me about that. So I thought that was a really interesting answer because I think a lot of people go like, that's such a normal question to ask. Like, what about your siblings? Where are they?
Or
do you have
the most dangerous question of all? Do you have any kids?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I ask about, oh my God. I mean, I'll save this for after the break, but I have an example of something that I asked that could have been an uncomfortable question, but I don't think it was after this. So I'm at the NFL honors. I'm waiting for the car after Bill Belichick's girlfriend talks to me. Actually, it was before that. Chris is talking to a friend from production that he ran into. I see this guy in a wheelchair kind of roll up, so to speak, and literally. And he's with a friend and he goes, and I kind of see them like talk and like maybe clock me. I think this was them because there was a couple of people that clocked me and then asked for a picture and stuff. It was very nice, but I always kind of see the talk happen before they ask for the picture of like, hey, do you think that's her? Or then they're like, you know, like they kind of think you're a zoo animal and you can't hear. Like I don't understand. They start throwing pellets at you. They don't understand that like like you can if your friend who's 2 feet away can hear you, the girl that's 5 feet away can probably hear you too.
Plus you're catching it on the wavelengths anyway.
And you're saying my name, which I'm like tuned to hear already because people know their name. Anyway, but I see they say like, hey, are you Nikki Glaser? And I'm like, yeah. And there's this guy in this wheelchair. And I can just tell he's not permanently in a wheelchair. I don't know how I can tell. I just know.
Like he's injured maybe. He broke his leg or something. He's not like one of those guys who's just wheeling around for the
It doesn't look like a permie. It doesn't have like stickers on it. There's not like a wornness to the wheelchair. There's not like a comfort in the wheelchair.
It's not expensive. Is it expensive looking?
It's a nice chair. I think it was a nice chair. It just didn't. He was like sitting in a way that seemed like his body worked mostly. You know, like I think people who are chronically in a wheelchair have the wheelchair is almost part of them. Like you can sense that it's like it's them.
Yes.
And I'm saying this all with no fucking judgment
whatsoever. This guy
whatsoever.
could have been newly. Perm,
no, or he could have been like, but I don't think he would have been out and being like Nikki Glaser and like, you know, I don't know if he was permanent, but I could have been wrong. That's the thing. I could have been barking up a terrible tree. So he goes, I go, what happened to you? And I ask this to people all the time if they have like a cast or a wheelchair, like not actually if they have a cast or if they have a rolling, like kind of, you know, a boot. I generally don't because I'm like, they're getting it all the time. But if they're coming to a meet and greet, I do because they're like, oh, Nikki Glaser asked me about it. But if it's like, you know, I find a time and a place.
There are certain people who love that. Like if you have a cast, I
read the room. Yes.
Yeah. Remember in like elementary school or middle school when someone would break an arm and then they would have a cast? They would be like the celebrity for the next 3 months.
Totally.
Did he get autographs and stuff?
Get those autographs. And if you don't get asked to autograph, oh my God, you're such a loser.
I wanted a broken leg or broken arm so much. This is such a sad story. My mom broke her foot when she was cleaning up our playroom when I was little because she dropped a Cookie Monster piano that we had on her foot.
That's why they recalled it. I mean, those things were heavy.
And so I, as a 3-year-old, picked up the Cookie Monster piano and would just drop it onto my foot over and over because I thought that's the only way to break your foot and get a cool cast.
This is the origin story of your bunions.
It's the origin story of comedy, of everything. I just wanted attention. I cannot believe I didn't turn into a hypochondriac who just is constantly getting sick. Not the kind that is just anxiety, but the kind that gets sick to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I didn't turn into that. Like, I literally... It doesn't make sense. My parents told me that there was like a poison ivy bush, and if you go near that, you're gonna like break out in poison ivy, and it will be very bad. And I went right to the bush, and I took a leaf. I remember it still to this day, and I just rubbed it all over like it was a loofah all over my body. And my parents were like, "What happened? It was down my throat. I mean, it was everything. It was terrible. I was too young to really remember, but I remember grabbing the leaf and knowing like I'm being bad, and I rubbed it everywhere. Anyway,
well, to this day, you don't treat germs with any sort of gravity, or respect.
Actually, I do respect them. I don't go like, I'm scared of you. They're one of me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you're a germ too.
Yeah, I am for sure. I'm covered in them.
Perhaps your childhood, your youthful zest for engaging in these dangerous activities created a sense of immunity in your body that now negated your ability to become a hypochondriac because you simply just don't get sick enough. I cannot
get sick.
Yeah.
But I did get chronic sinus infections as a kid. And but I will say that my first word was dangerous, and I would point out things that were dangerous. And I was the most terrified child that anyone has ever known until 7th grade. Till probably even now, I get anxiety around dangerous things. But when it comes to like me inflicting pain on myself, not scared. Me having like a injury to the point of death, I won't even touch any. I won't go on roller coasters, But if it's something that I'm like, I'm not scared of. I wasn't scared of COVID. I have to be honest. I'm not scared of
bees thing.
No. Oh God. I think I've gone off on this podcast about bees. Like, I am so annoyed at girls that are go like, ah! And like they run around or they like scream when there's a bee. It's like the only reason a bee's gonna sting you is because you act like that. If you just stay still, they don't sting you. And I know there's besties listening being like, oh bitch, I've stayed still and didn't even know a bee was on me and it stung me before. Yeah. I know that can happen, but it's just stay calm. Just stay calm. Respect the bees, and you know what? Take one for the team, and they're not going to sting you unless they're threatened. They probably got threatened when you weren't screaming and they stung you. Somehow, something you did threaten them, but certainly waving your arms around and acting like a lunatic is going to make them go, oh my God, I'm about to die. I should just sting her and sacrifice my life and, commit harikari or whatever.
You want to hear this is a quick tale of my most badass moment in life, probably. I was standing outside a pool, maybe it was at camp or something, and a bee landed on my shoulder and started to sting me, and with 2 fingers, I picked it up and threw it away. And then its stinger didn't get stuck in me.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was a bumblebee. I don't even know if they can sting you, honestly.
That's literally the same story that I have.
What?
One of the coolest things I ever did was I was like 4 or 5, and we were on the river, and my dad was like fishing, and I was just sitting next to him after work. We were just sitting on the dock or something. Maybe he wasn't fishing. We were just looking at the river because we lived on a river until I was 6. And there was a giant spider, the whole size of my shoulder, on my naked shoulder. And my dad goes, Nikki, and he knew how scared I was of things. And I remember being calm as a cucumber and just going like this and flicking it off very calmly. And my dad was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And ever since then, I've like really prided myself on not freaking out about bugs on me.
Yeah.
Like if it's near me, I'll kind of like if it's a centipede near me, I literally moved out of an apartment once and slept on my friend's couch because there was a house centipede in my bed. I was also going through some psychological issues at the time, but
centipedes aren't poisonous. Millipedes are the ones you gotta look out for anyway.
I don't care about poison. I just care about I don't like it's the legs. It's the
too many legs.
It's the quickness. It's like how the legs. There's thousands of them and they almost make a wave like that. Like you can't even see the individual legs. It's just like a wave. It's like an eel almost. disgusting. And I don't like a bug that doesn't have a plan. I don't like bugs that don't know what way they're going and they kind of just go like they're. I don't like daddy long legs when they just decide to like crawl and then they go against the wall flat. I really don't like that at all. I think that's so disgusting.
The earwigs. Or the little what do they call the silverfish? Oh my god, those
silverfish are
disgusting. I was wrong, by the way. Centipedes are poisonous, everybody.
Yes, they definitely
don't go eat centipedes, but millipedes are considered not poisonous. So go ahead.
Yeah, they're slow.
Let them walk all over you.
But I don't like those at all either.
But they have so many legs. How are they slower? They've got a million legs.
I don't like how if you were to like. I don't know if you were to like accidentally kick one, it might like chop it in half, and then it would just be struggling, and you have to like put it out of its misery.
Wait,
oh my god! When I was in Hawaii, we were at this amazing resort. Shout out Four Seasons in Lanai. But there were these big, chunky, big boy. No, that's the one in Maui. There were these big, chunky, big boy frogs, toads. That would appear at twilight, and then they'd be out on the paths at all night long, and they didn't get out of the way if you shuffled your feet. They just like stood there. And so there were multiple times I almost stepped on these frogs, and the paths weren't lit. Like it kind of like lets you kind of like walk where you want. And I was like, Chris, this is so awful. I bet people step on these frogs all the fucking time. Why don't they tell people when they check into the hotel, like, we have a lot of these little frogs, and you know, just
maybe
when
it's
you
a
walk,
seasonal thing?
use your I don't know if it's a seasonal thing. It's
birthing
just like they were
season
just
for frogs.
out.
Lots of frogs out because they were just, you know, like when baby birds are out for the first time, like they don't understand that cars can hurt them.
These guys
yet.
were fatty boys. I mean, some of them were the size of a coffee mug, you know, and some were like littler, but some were fucking bullfrog big fatties, and you would just step on it, and they wouldn't even try to like move. You could just like squish it, and I can't think of anything worse than squishing a frog with your fucking foot. And so I was like, Chris, I'm going to talk to them. Like when you check in, there needs to be like, hey, by the way, we have lots of frogs. And at night, if you would use your flashlight on your phone so you don't step on them, that would be good for them and you. And and Chris was like, don't do that. And I was like, or he was like, you're not going to do that. And I go, you watch me. And so the next day at lunch, one of the guys came up and was like, how's your stay? And I was like, it's been amazing. Can I just give you a suggestion? Like, when the guests check in, can you just like warn them about the frogs? Because I almost stepped on a frog, and I care about animals more than I care about myself. And I almost stepped on a frog, and I was being so cautious. Like, and I knew about the frogs. People who don't know about the frogs, even if your guests don't care about the livelihood of these frogs, like, do you want your guests to squish a frog with their foot? Like, that's a disgusting thing. Like, you should warn them. And he seemed to like take it seriously, but I don't think it's going to.
No one takes complaints.
All I do is just think about all these poor frogs that are trying to get back to their babies to like feed them, or what? Maybe they don't. Maybe they just hatch and then they're on their own. But like, just why would you want, like, don't step on frogs. Don't try to step on animals. Don't squish bugs. Just be nice to animals. Please, God. If you see a bird, help it. Don't be scared to pick up a bird. If it's
Wait a
it's
second.
not,
I
if
was
you
told
pick
to
up a
leave the
bird,
bird
no,
alone.
it's a lie. That is a lie. If you see an abandoned
That's a lie
bird,
propagated by the anti-animal industry.
yeah, well, I don't know what it's propagated by, but it's not true that a mama bird will not touch her baby bird again because you touched it. That's not true. If you see an abandoned bird that's like struggling on the ground, definitely help it. Definitely call the local like animal authority. This guy that I follow on Instagram, who is like an animal rights activist, he was walking down the street in Toronto and he saw a rat that was kind of just like kind of out of it, almost like concussed, just kind of like, you know, when you just see an animal that's kind of like breathing heavy and like staring, and you're just like, what do I do? This guy fucking stopped. Everyone's just walking by this rat going, ew, a rat. And then he stopped and stayed with it, called animal control, like the animal people that actually care. And he got the rat help.
Wow.
Can you believe like a little rat, a street rat got help from someone? Like, why don't they deserve that? Like, I don't understand that just because they're a rat, everyone just hates them. And if you use glue traps, stop listening to this podcast now. I literally don't want you to ever come to a show. I don't want you to ever be a fan of mine. I don't like you. If you use glue traps for bugs, for animals, you are a bad person. You are cruel, and I don't like you. I think glue traps are disgusting. I really should start a campaign that like gets glue traps taken out of Home Depots. I think they are so awful. They just torture an animal because you're too much of a pussy to just kill it right away. I understand mouse traps, but get ones. Don't even get humane ones because you know you're not going to empty them out because you feel grossed out. So you just let the fucking mouse starve inside of the goddamn thing because you think it's humane or something. Unless you go and take those mice and you let them out in the woods, then don't get a humane trap. Just get the ones that snap its neck. I'd rather none of it. I probably would just live amongst mice if it was up to me. But get the ones that snap their neck. Do not get glue traps. Do not get glue traps. They'll just have to chew their fucking foot off to get out, and then they'll die of blood loss. Anyway, so I'm waiting for my car, and this guy in this wheelchair comes up to me.
Yes.
And if you have a glue trap in your house, you shouldn't be listening to the podcast anymore. I don't want your fandom.
What about this guy in the wheelchair? What if he has a glue trap?
I forgive him because of what happened to him.
Oh, so you know the truth.
Well, okay, if you get rid of your glue traps now, and realize the error of your ways, absolutely, because I think some people just don't even think. But I would say that you should probably be 17 years old.
There's always time for redemption.
No, but like you don't have an excuse. You should have thought if you're in your 30s and you use a glue trap, no excuse. I don't even care if you change your ways. I don't want you. You like aren't thinking about other people unless you really have like a you need to go do some psychedelics. Then what's
you know those
wrong
like
with
those
you?
things you hang from the ceiling and it's like a strip of glue and it's supposed to capture bugs?
Yeah,
flies.
That's a glue trap for bugs.
Okay.
What a stupid, like, just let the bugs fly. I mean, like, how many bugs do you have?
My mom and I got so mad at my dad because he like found this cool thing that's like, you take a 2-liter soda and you cut it in half and then you flip the top and then they go in and they can't get out, and these goddamn stink bugs that stink because you can't stomp them, Nikki, because if you stomp them then they stink. And I'm like, then who gives a shit? Just stink. I don't care. Get a sock that always just stinks and then put that in a bucket and turn the bucket over so you can't smell the sock, and like that's your stink bug sock. Like, and my dad's like, Nikki, and my mom goes, they just writhe around in this liquid and your dad just drowns them. And I'm like, Dad, this is so inhumane. I got so mad at my dad. It was like the biggest fight we've been in a really long time because bugs feel pain too, but like whatever. Glue traps for flies, I'll let go. But if you have a glue trap on the ground where lizards and chameleons and mice and rats and even centipedes and more like sentient bugs, in my mind, beetles, big bugs are getting trapped, you're committing genocide of a species to me. I think it's disgusting, and I think you should be ashamed of yourselves. But if you're 17 or younger, you can change your ways. But if you're older than 17, come on, your frontal lobe should be totally developed. 25, I think, is frontal lobe. Okay, so I'll make the cutoff 25. So if you're renting cars and killing mice with a glue trap, you're a bad person.
If you're a statutory genocidal maniac, then you can still redeem yourself. But
and
if
you could probably yell at me because I'm wearing fast fashion and because I'm using a phone that was used with like, microchips that were mined by children in sub-Saharan Africa. So I am also, but I'm not as connected to it, No. And what am I? And I'm actually able to get out this information through my phone so I'm actually using are you using your glue trap to send out positive messages about veganism? I don't think so. So unless you can prove to me that you're spelling out "go vegan" with glue traps to pilots overhead, then I don't think it's right. So I'm waiting for my car, and this guy is in a wheelchair.
Questionably
and I go, what happened to you?
permanent wheelchair person.
Yeah, I go, what happened to you? And his friend goes, whoa. Wait, do you like? I could hear it was like something. He was like, the guy that my foot was run over in the French Quarter on New Year's Day.
Man,
by the
I saw this coming. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want it to be like perceived as a joke because it wasn't. I
was beside myself.
Yeah,
his foot was run over by the guy that pledged allegiance to ISIS. Had the flag going. Well, I don't even know his name. I don't think they like really put it out there as much. And I think there was a tragedy like the next day, and so everyone forgot. But
the fires.
Yeah, the fires were a couple days later. But the guy that sped down the French Quarter going like 80 miles an hour, this guy was hit by him, and I can't say that I saw something that this guy had that showed me what he's been through. And he was I told him, I go, dude, first of all, he was like, "You're my favorite comedian," and I was like, "You're my favorite terrorist attack victim like that I've ever met." And so I was being serious because I was like, I've never met one before, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't believe I'm meeting someone so close to this insane thing that happened. Like, he was there. So he's at the NFL Honors. He got tickets to the Super Bowl. Like, he was he's a survivor
I know
of it.
who this is because I saw a video about them.
Adam Conti. Yes.
He's a football player?
My friend. He went to West Point. He did 2 tours in the military, I believe. No, maybe
He never
the
played
Navy?
football?
Is West Point Navy?
West Point is Army, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
It's Army,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, he did 2 tours.
Wait, so I
and-
saw a thing on Sports Center, on where everyone watches Sports Center now, which is Instagram,
Mhm.
about this guy who went to the French Quarter with his friend, and then his friend got hit by the car, and he got
No.
injured too.
This guy
No,
was by himself.
by himself. Okay,
Well, he
different
was
guy.
with friends earlier in the night, but it was 3 a.m, and he was like kind of literally sauntering home based on the footage. And all of a sudden he is dead center of the road when this guy comes by, and you could just
Yeah.
see him kind of look and like hear something, and he turns just to see, and the way he turns and kind of jumps out of the way. I mean, he was in the center where the center of the car was, and the car was going 80 miles an hour. Can you believe that? And
That's
it just
insane.
it ran over his foot. It broke like
So he like sprinted away.
all the
trying to-
bones in his foot.
He
I mean, his
just
foot is
barely got
fucked.
away.
Barely. I mean, I saw something. I don't know that I can say that I saw something, but I saw something that he had in his possession for himself to not show any, it's not
fake
out
pen.
there. But he had footage of it. And I got to see the most shocking footage I've ever seen in my life
Oh
of
my
like
God.
someone's just touch with death. Have you ever seen the video where there's a guy? It's one of the most spooky things I've ever seen. There's a guy, it's like, CCTV footage, and he's kind of walking, and then a guy walks past him and taps him on the shoulder, and the guy turns, and as he turns, a fucking car comes by that with like a big steel beam on it or something, and because the person that tapped him on the shoulder right before and keeps walking by does that, he's able to not get hit by this beam. So it's like a
Whoa.
guardian angel came by, and they don't even know who that person was
It feels
that
fake.
saved this. Oh my! It's not. It's. I think it's verified. It's been around for years and years.
Mhm.
But
Why did he tap him?
they don't know who he was. They don't know anything. The guy just disappeared into the
God.
night. But you see this guy
Whoa.
come up and tap him. If you want to Google it, I'm serious. It's one of the coolest videos I've ever seen. Just look at guardian
Snopes
angel
it.
tapping guy on shoulder. Yeah, Snopes it. So anyway, I met this guy Adam. He was so nice, so cool. Seemed a little like just seemed a little like not sad, but like, he's just been through the most insane thing ever. It's like a month ago, so it's probably like the support is kind of dying down a little bit. So it just felt like I can only imagine like what he's going through mentally, but he is really strong because he said he's, seen some stuff overseas and stuff that he's been through psychological trauma based on this kind of stuff before. But I asked him, I was like, because then I invited him to the Burt show, and he showed up at the Burt show. It was so much fun. He got to come backstage. Initially, we were like, I didn't know if he could like come with all his friends to the party, but then Burt was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care. So I got to bring him to this after party. They met all of these athletes. They met Burt. They met everyone on the show. They met Adam Devine. They met, Dr. Phil as Adam Ray. That like they're just like him and all his friends are just like hanging with all these guys, and he was just, you could just tell he had a great time. And it made me so happy to give him that because he was just like a really cool dude that I like was like, oh my God, I would definitely be friends with this person. Like we just loved him so much, and he had such a great sense of humor. But I was talking to him before we went to the party, and he had shown me the video, and we were just like I was just in shock, like I can't believe this guy's been through it, and kind of like searching his face for like, are you okay? Like what is all of this? Like, and then it struck me, I was like, oh my God, like, I think how many people died in it? Like 12 or something?
Mhm.
But watching that car, the footage, like watching that car careen down this alley, I was like, so many people just like died right there. Like were just run over in a
Oh, yeah.
horrible way, getting hit by a car going 80 miles an hour. And I said, oh my God, like he was obviously conscious when they pulled him out, you know, like he just kind of fell to the side and his foot was completely shattered in so many different ways. But I said, did you like see anything? And he said, because of my training and because of the experiences that I've had overseas and the stuff that I've witnessed, I know just to keep look at my feet. And I'm like, well, your foot was all fucked up. You don't want to look at that. So he but when he was being pulled out of the French Quarter and they're walking out, he said he kind of saw some stuff and he instantly snapped into action of look directly at the ground in front of you. Do not look to the sides at all. He said he's so glad that he did that because he thinks he would be having a really, really rough time right now if he did it, if he had saw what was there for him to see. And so I thought, you know, how lucky that you were someone that knew to do that. How unlucky, obviously, all of the stuff is, but that was just a really interesting detail of it that I wouldn't even think. So, you know, God forbid anyone listening right now is ever in a catastrophe like that. Keep your gaze on the ground in front of you to save yourself more trauma than you're already going through, which I would not have thought to do. But now I will try to keep that in the forefront of my mind and play Tetris. I mean, if anything I've learned on Reddit, when people share traumatic things they've been through, the number one comment is go play Tetris right now. Because it really helps with PTSD in the aftermath of a car crash or witnessing something awful. When people witness jumpers, when people witness someone dying, or
specifically Tetris.
Tetris has been known there's research to support it that if you play Tetris after a traumatic event, it will help with the PTSD and kind of make your brain not keep it around as much, or
organizing, or is it just your brain's distracted with something else?
I don't know. But did you find the Snopes thing?
Yeah, nothing on Snopes about it. It's just I saw the video on Reddit. Snopes doesn't have any article about it.
Did you watch it?
I watched the video.
Wait, what do you think? Isn't it insane?
You know
will you
what?
describe what you saw? Because am I right? Isn't it like a beam or something
It's
comes down?
very low quality footage, but there's a chance that the man saw, because the man that taps him on the shoulder is coming up from behind. And there's a chance that the man saw the truck and was avoiding it himself and just tapped him on the shoulder to be like, by the way, there's this truck that's coming that's... So, could
he
the
might
guardian
not have thought
angel...
it was dire.
Yeah, he might have been like, watch out for that truck. I remember one time, this is obviously not the same thing, but there was a palm tree, and sometimes palm trees shed their bark, and they're really tall. So when they shed their bark, there's just these chunks of wood falling from the sky. And I was walking my dog, and this guy was like, hey, by the way, I don't know what the hell this tree is doing, but stay away from that tree.
Whoa.
Yeah, so then I saw just chunks falling off of it. And I wonder if it was a similar thing where it's you don't...
Yeah, the guy might have just been like, hey, there's a car.
There's a car with a swinging ladder
How many
or something.
people say something? That's you really got to follow your gut. You have to be so in tune.
It's so nice that, again, empathy, self-awareness. If you see a curb that you just stepped over, I'm always pointing out hey, there's a step here. There's a slick spot. Just try to save other people. There was, I was backstage with some old ladies one time because there were some old women appearing on the show and everyone was kind of shuffling them around. And I was just another person on the show, but I was like, no one was even thinking about these old women, don't have the field of vision that you do. They have much more muscle loss. They can't catch themselves if they fall as quickly. They just don't have the right depth perception. And there were cords all over. And I was like, I had to take it upon myself to be there's cords here and lead them. And no one, I was like, just look out for older people. A lot more. Look out for people who need the door help for them. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes you just don't see someone and you just slip and you look like an asshole. The other day, Sarah Lena was freaking out because she was like, I didn't hold the door for this woman. Now she hates me. And it's now I kind of understand that a little bit more. You just want to help out your common man. But today I was in my car and I was texting at a stoplight. As the law lets you. I don't think it does. I don't think you're ever supposed to be. But I was very much texting at a stoplight that I had just pulled up to. Car was stopped, and I kind of saw a guy next to me, talking. You could kind of see his head going in the car next to me, and I just was ready for fucking apologizing. Whenever I get caught doing something, I always go, "I'm sorry. I know I'm just a dumb cunt." And so I was getting ready to be yeah, you're right. You called me. I shouldn't be on my phone or whatever. And he was just going, nice car. I love your car. And I was like, yes, it was the first time that's ever happened to me in traffic. It was so cool. I felt so cool. And I was texting. And I was like, now I'm going to text people that this guy thinks my car is cool. It was so nice. All right, we'll be back with final thought after this. So I was cleaning out an old purse and I found the notes from the hotel that I was staying at where I did the show from hell, the Cabo show from hell, that group.
White Lotus.
And these are yeah. It's at if you ever want to go to an amazing resort, I mean, I'm not joking you, this place was like legit. And I think it was pretty affordable because I was looking up prices when I was in Hawaii and I was at a hotel that was like very, very expensive and I didn't like it. So I don't even think I told you guys, we flew to Hawaii after the Golden Globes and we got to my hotel that I had got because I saw the website and it was amazing. Or maybe I did say, and I got there and I was like, this sucks.
You did not talk
You
about
did
it.
not say any of this.
Okay,
on girls
so
chat. Let's talk about it.
I literally got to the hotel that we paid. I don't even want to tell you what we paid because it's just going to make people mad because they would think it. I paid a Birkin bag, you know, like it was like a lot.
I know, but you worked
for this
hard
really nice
This was your
resort.
post Golden Globe celebratory trip to unwind.
And I
First
spared no
vacation.
expense for a really nice suite at this hotel. I'm not going to say which one because they're doing their
We
best.
already said.
No, that's the one I ended up going to after I abandoned this one.
the good one.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, the Four Seasons Lanai. It's incredible. Lanai has 3,000 people on the whole goddamn island. Most of them work at that resort, but that resort is incredible. Four Seasons Lanai. I learned from Al Michaels, famed sports announcer. If you want a good time, if you want to make sure your hotel is legit, just never go anywhere except to Four Seasons.
Yeah.
And I know that's like a very privileged thing to say, but like coming from someone who, if you can afford it, just don't trust anywhere. It's like my new policy for my tour is like, if there's a Four Seasons and within 30 minutes of the concert space that I'm performing at, that's where we're staying. Okay, now everyone can stalk me and kill me, but they actually have really good security, so fucking bring it.
Four Seasons, great. I got to stay in the Four Seasons at one time in Philly, right? That was Four Seasons? Yeah, thanks to you. And
yes, because
it was
TNF
nice.
puts us up at the Four Seasons because guess what? That's what Al Michaels works for, and Al Michaels
That's right,
calls the
Al
shots.
Michaels. Shout out to Al.
Yeah, he was like mad that when
Great
they had
guy.
to stay at a Ritz-Carlton, he was like, oh, God, I hate
Ritz-Carlton
them.
for trash.
Yeah, right. Ritz-Carltons are really nice too, but the Four Seasons you can't go wrong, and so I'll never wing it again. So
Yeah.
this place just spent all their money on a website because their website was ridiculous. You guys, you would never even believe that this resort wasn't like what it like looked like it was going to be on the website.
Yeah, I've been there before.
So we get there and we pull in. We're like, oh, all right. The valet station is really nice. The lobby is really nice. Oh, okay. And then we keep walking. There's like sand in the hallways, which they think is like a nice touch, but it's not. It's just like dirty.
Like on purpose, they like lined the hallway.
Yeah,
with
like
sand?
they like, oh, indoor, outdoor.
This
and
is
you're
the
like,
first
no, I think this
hotel.
is just tracked in. Yes, this is the first hotel. Oh my God, the Four Seasons would never.
Never put sand in the hallway.
No, the Four
Keep that
it's-
out in the beach.
And I'm not kidding you.
mongrels.
This place costs just as much as the Four Seasons. So I am not even like, I'm talking about a place that like charges you so much goddamn money.
Yeah.
And we get to our hotel room and there's no balcony, which is just insane in Hawaii. Like to not have a balcony.
Even for you go to a $200 a
ceilings
night
are
room,
low.
you get a balcony.
It's like a cabin. We're like, this is where you'd want to stay if you were going to Yosemite. You know, like this is a cabin vibe. Really nice room. Like all like, you know, nice Hawaiian woods, you know, like type of like dark, like rich wood and
Macrame on the
beautiful
wall.
flower arrangement. Yeah, yes. But it's like no balcony. And also like there's sand on the floor in the hallway. The adult swimming pool is like a wading pool. Like it's nothing. And then we go down and I'm like, we get in the hotel room. I've said nothing to Chris so far because I'm just trying to be positive. It's taken us all day to fucking get there, you know, like, but I'm paying a pretty penny for this place. I think all in all, like it's about, I think it's $3,500 a night, which isn't like, it's not the most, but it's a lot. And I think it's like I'm doing, so I think it was like all in all like $15,000. Okay, I'll just say it, $15,000, non-refundable. We go down to have lunch And I go, so we're in the guy is like showing us around the place, and I'm just like holding in my commentary, which is like, but I don't know if I'm just being Nikki that is like didn't eat enough today, is really tired, is scared about the fires, and is just like, I don't like anything. Cause sometimes I get in this mood where it's like, nothing's good enough cause I'm just like hate myself, you know? I don't know. It was kind of that. So I'm like, maybe it's that, you know, like I can't even judge my own judgment right now. And so but I hold it in, and then as soon as the guy leaves, and Chris is just like, okay, what do you want to do? And I'm just like, I think this kind of sucks. And he's like, yeah. And I go, do you think it kind of like this just does not feel like I wanted it to feel? I can't even describe what I wanted to feel like, but this isn't it. And he's like, it's, I mean, it's, and I'm like, wait, you see it too? And he's like, I mean, but he's not paying for it. So he's not one to like complain about something he's not paying for. And he's trying to just like support
Make
me.
the best of it.
Yeah. He's never one to be like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, look at this and look at that. Even though he later on told me like he was clocking so many things that were just like heinous
Like,
about this place.
Not enough sand in the hallway.
The sand in the hallway was making us laugh so hard because it was just, they acted like it was a feature, and it was totally just something that they were like, we're too lazy.
Right.
And then
We'll
they
also put
had
a bunch
like,
of leaves in your bed if you want.
it was a nice like clean place, but then we go down to lunch, and we have, you know, at these nice places you can like text with your guy. You have like a guy you're assigned,
A concierge.
and you're texting with him. Yeah, and he's brought us to the room. He's like chatty and fun, and he leaves, and I'm like, I just like kind of like hate this. I think I don't like this, but I'm like tired. I'm like, what are we gonna do? We're stuck here. Like I can't. Where else are we gonna go? I'm already looking up different resorts on the island. They all seem to be like either sold out or kind of like of the same kind of level, and I'm like, God, I wanted like I know a nice resort. Like I go, F-Boy Island has put me up at better places than this. Like I don't like this, and so I wanted like a really expansive, wide resort where we kind of get like away from people, where I didn't want like just like one pool and then another pool and then like one place to eat lunch. Like I wanted like multiple restaurants, and like I just didn't research it enough because I was working on the Golden Globes, and when my assistant sent me a bunch of options, I just was like, this one has the nicest website, you know, like I just assumed.
You fell for the old website trick, the grift.
Yes. And why wouldn't they spend all their money on the website? Because most people that save up $12,000 to go on a nice trip,
They're not going back.
they're not even, I'm sorry, this is a thing I noticed. It's my joke about people having kids too. If you can't regret it, you don't. If it's non-refundable, you're not even going to let in this sucks.
Right.
You're not even going to let that in, because what's the point?
Right.
You can't, if you're a mom, you can't change anything. So you're not going to really let in, I hate this. I don't want this. This sucks. It does. Your mind does a gymnastics thing. It won't even let it in. You just convince yourself you like it, which is a great thing because, but Trump. I have enough, you know, I can let $12,000 go. Like my mind is like, Nikki, you can just walk away. There's like a part of me, even though that would like pain me, and my mom who lives inside me being like, $12,000 for a week. I mean, I guess, you know, like that's inside me, but I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, get out of here. And so we went down to lunch. I go, let's just have lunch and let me like get some food and like calm down. I'm down at lunch and I'm like, I think I hate this. The menus are like stained.
Yeah.
Like they have like grease spots on them.
That's on purpose.
The guy that like is giving us, taking our order, his shirt is like dirty. And I know I am not usually a person who cares about that kind of stuff, but I think I was just like, ugh. And then I'm looking around at like the people that are there, and I'm like, I want to be the white trashiest person at a resort. Like I want people to look at me and go, texting their assistants like, how do I get out of here? Because this isn't what I thought it was. I don't want to be the one who's the nicest dressed person there. And so I was looking around. I saw a lot of sunburns. I saw a lot of tattoos, back tattoos. No offense if you have that.
Right. A lot
but
of
it was
Sylvester the cat patches.
Yeah, it was
Yosemite
just like the type of tattoo.
Yeah.
I really don't judge tattoos, but there was like a lot of just like sunburnt people, which that tells me it's like my first time on vacation. Like I just don't want to be around people who was like, oh, Hawaii, first time. Like it just, there was like an enthusiasm. Like
they're all from South Carolina.
No, I don't even mind the accent. I'm just like I don't know. I'm being disparaging of I'm being elitist right now. But I like to be the trash.
You gotta go to a hotel. There needs to be at least 20%.
I want to be the one with a Target tote.
20% of the clientele needs to have Russian accents. That's how you know it's a good hotel.
I'm sorry. Believe me, I've stayed at some trash places. I'm not someone who is like, I need to like always be in the nice. Like, I think people know who I am. I don't need to excuse this.
Yeah.
I just was in a mood. It just wasn't what I wanted to be.
Mm.
So I just was like, I'm walking away, and I felt so bad because our guy was like so invested in us like having a good time and like, I'm gonna get you reservations here, and we were like, okay, yay, and like being nice to him. And then I like, planned it through my assistant to let them know we were leaving the next day, and they were like, is there anything we can do? And we were like, unfortunately, no. And they go, we'll show you another suite. And so they showed us an upgrade, and it was a way nicer place, but they were in the middle of cleaning it for like for us.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially because someone had just left. Yeah. So we toured it while it was being cleaned because it was the only time to see it. Because I was like, well, let's just go see what it looks like. And so we go to tour it, and there's like a 5-hour energy on the nightstand. Like you can kind of see the people. Like you can, no matter how nice a place is, if you see any remnants of people being there before, you don't want it. You know what I mean? There's like a tissue in the waste bin. I don't want to know there's any DNA of anyone before.
No.
And so we were just like grossed out by that, even though it was so nice.
Someone had a night of 5-hour energy and a tissue. I mean, what was this guy up to?
It was the most boring trash ever. Like nothing gross, like totally like a nice space. But Chris and I were just both like, ugh. And we're leaving. And I kid you not, like the bellhop, our concierge guy are like, is there anything we can do? And we're rolling it out, and I'm like wearing a hat and sunglasses, trying not to get noticed because I feel so bad. I feel like a girl escaping in the middle of the night of like staying at a weekend
like
with a guy.
Griner.
Yes. Well, no. But if she maybe hooked up with a guy that she thought she was going to spend the weekend with, and then she decided after the first night that she hated him, and has to like make an excuse to leave, which we've all done, I think.
Maybe that's what happened.
But they were like, literally, I had to like roll up the window, and they're like, is there anything we can do? And I'm like, you can't. It has nothing to do with you. It's like, it's just not big enough. The ceilings aren't tall enough. The architecture, it's not the service. And then we pulled off, and then we flew to the Four Seasons, and it was the best decision I've ever made. And Chris was a little nervous because he was like, I think Nikki just is going to hate anything. She's in one of those moods.
Right, you're in that mood.
But we landed, and we got to the resort, and he was like, Glaze, you were 100% right. He was like, I didn't even know what you meant by like it needs to be nicer, because we just felt a dis-ease. But he was like, this is a game changer. And we were in absolute heaven. I mean, the place we stayed in was really expensive. I think it was like, I'm not even gonna say what it was, but it was more than the other place.
We have to make the podcast long enough that you eventually wind up saying it anyway.
I know. I feel bad. People are gonna really hate me after this one because it sounds like
Did you actually feel relaxed?
But then I was the trashiest person there.
Hell yeah.
Like by far.
That's the way.
Like literally I saw people looking at me like, yuck. Like they were all like, they all knew everyone that worked there because they've been going there for so many years. I was, and I did actually relax, Noah, to answer your question. There's nothing to do there except whale watch, go pet some goats, look at the koi fish, step on a frog, and sleep and eat at
good couch,
at Nobu or Matza or another place. Or what was that?
Good couch. That's the part you left out of the other hotel.
The couch was like a burlap sack. Oh yeah, I gave the girls chat like a tour of the room, and I was like, I'm sorry, I am in hell right now, and they were all so supportive. But I will say that hotel did refund me for the other nights, even though they didn't have to. They did the right thing, and they refunded me.
Well, you're a dangerous woman. You could slam them online. That could hurt
I would
them.
Never, because
They're all about the online presence. And
I honor contracts. You will never see me trying to be like, well, I'm actually leaving early and you guys let us down. If I sign a contract, for instance, I paid for 12 months of a apartment I never lived in during COVID in New York, even though everyone said you can get out of it. You don't have to pay for it. I paid fucking $7,000 a month for 12 months for an apartment I never even stepped foot in except one time, one day. And I just came by to get something out of a box. I also paid for an assistant that I moved to New York City because she moved there to work for me, and I paid for her for way longer than most people probably would have because I said I would. So I'm not someone who was like, will ever try to weasel out of a contract. If I sign something and say I'm going to pay it, I will never try to get a better deal or weasel out. So I was willing to pay full but I will, and I will stay in this brand of hotels in LA because I love their LA one, but I will not be back to the one on that island that we went to that will remain unnamed. But they are a good chain overall, and I really respect them for.
Wait a second. What happened? What happened with the ratty false hobo at the Starbucks?
They were listening to so loud, and I'm like, oh god, so annoying. So I moved to the other side of the Starbucks, and then I film a double parked Cybertruck outside,
Mhm,
and I'm filming the
obviously.
Cybertruck that's double parked in a double parked, like there's a handicap spot, and they pull to the side of the handicap so no one can get in the handicap spot, and then they turn on their fucking hazard lights and are double parked.
Okay.
And I'm like, who is inside here with that car? And it's the homeless woman listening to the fucking religious podcast at full
Yeah.
volume, of course.
She's got a newfound confidence.
Anyone who drives a Cybertruck, like I want to just drive a Cybertruck because I want to see the stares I get,
Yeah.
and like what the energy is, because I don't know anyone who's ever looked at them admiringly, except maybe a toddler. Like I've never seen, like I just saw a meme the other day of like, show us your Cybertruck face, and it's the face you make when you see one, and everyone's Cybertruck face is just like ugh, and I go so hard on my scowl because you don't get to be one of those people that puts a sticker on your Tesla that's like, I got this before I knew he was a Nazi,
Yeah.
like you got that when he was very clearly
No, you're
headed
proud
that way.
of it. Yeah, that's the way
And
it's
so
going.
you are looking for attention, but you're looking for attention that is fueled by hatred. You're
Yeah.
looking for people to hate you. Like, what is that? Why
It's
would you
called
want that?
a troll, and that's it's the.
But
internet
trolls
has
usually
created-
get to be anonymous, and that's why Cybertrucks have tinted windows, and no one's ever rolling the window down on a Cybertruck.
Well, Elon Musk is the biggest troll of them all. I mean, he loves trolling. He's the mega troll, and these are people who have learned that you can troll in real life and not be anonymous, and it feels great to just rankle people, to rile them up and make them upset. You know that you're affecting the world in this way.
I want to go drive one around just to see the energy that gets thrown your way, because
But
it
I-
must be crazy.
I
It
will
must,
say
like,
on international,
everyone hates them.
I see a lot of people in like international TikTok or something, like from Brazil or something like that, and the Cybertruck is a sign of luxury. They're posing. They're like influencers from Brazil posing with their Cybertruck or just being in their Cybertruck, and it's not viewed as something that's they're not
But in America,
they're not
I'm
aware
driving
of.
in
They don't
Brazil.
care about American politics, or they agree with what's going on. So the Cybertruck stank is not on them.
Right. Okay, well, we covered a lot today. If you use glue traps, I'm really sorry. I lashed out at you. I forgive you. We all do. Like I do. I support bad things too. I love you if you listen to the podcast. I just hope that you just get rid of those glue traps and maybe learn something and then spread the word about it to like prevent other ones. Also, shout out to Adam, who was in the terrorist attack. I love you. It was so cool to meet you. What an honor. Like truly such an honor to know someone that was affected
And a
that
veteran.
closely by something insane. And a veteran. Thank you for your service. Like just such an honor to meet him. What a cool, smart, amazing person. And I'm so deeply sorry for that happening to him. Look him up though. He's just a great guy. And I gotta actually Google him to get more information, but I just really enjoyed hanging out with him and his friends that night. It was like it was my favorite part of the whole New Orleans weekend, was meeting him and hanging out with his friends and like being able to like give him that night, even I hope he had a good time, but even if he did it felt like he did, and it felt nice to make him smile because he's been through a lot. Anyway, we'll see you next week on the podcast. Oh, and I didn't tell you what I heard about. Okay, let me just really quickly, because I said I would on yesterday's podcast, was on the podcast subreddit. And it says, I'm emotionally attached to podcast hosts. And this person described, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I can't wait for the next episode to drop. I feel like I am always wondering, like, what's going on in their mind. Like, I like look forward to it so much. I have felt this way about so many different podcasts in my life. And so I like instantly opened it up to like kind of read about this like psychology of this person going through it and to hear other people comment on it. And the subreddit podcast is really like smart, cool people. I found that like just have a passion for podcasts, all different kinds. And I was scrolling the comments and I saw that this person named So Carious, SEWCARREIE, So Carious, wrote, "Is it the Nikki Glaser podcast? Because me too." And I felt so honored
Wow.
and it was upvoted once. So at least one other person agreed with them. And I just want to say it means so much to me that people are emotionally attached to this podcast. I hope it's in a healthy way. I hope it feels like we're your friends and that you you give me as much. I hope I give you as much joy as like the podcast that I'm emotionally attached to give me. I know what that feels like. I'm so glad that I can give it to anyone.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes
Hopefully
lost on me that I ever do.
seasons of podcasts for them and not the other place.
I really appreciated reading that. It's just really cool. Like most of the time when I stumble across my name on the internet, it doesn't feel good. When I'm just like reading for pleasure and then all of a sudden I see my name, it's like, oh God, it like ruins it. And this was one of those times that was like truly a gift that like made it better. So I would implore all besties to like respond nice. If you ever want to mention me in a nice way on something, like I would, it's a little Easter egg that like made my day to read that. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's all I had to say on that. Don't be cuh, and we'll see you next week. Bye.